Hi, my name's Emma Trodaway. Today, in this lesson, I'm analysing a Year 4 mathematics lesson which introduces multiplication using area models. Now, although the lesson shows 3 clear stages with an introduction to activate that knowledge, concept development with some explicit teaching, and then the independent practice, and ending with an exit ticket to check for the understanding, the overall lesson, in my opinion, is poorly conceived, and I feel it does very little to support students who are learning what is a new concept for them. So the lesson states that it will use a number of resources, such as base 10 blocks, grid paper, and mini whiteboards. But throughout the progression, these are not sort of explicitly stated where the teacher is using them and the differentiation that is occurring. Now, in this vein, the lesson does not adequately account for how students acquire knowledge or for the differences between a novice learner and an expert learner. The first weakness of the lesson is the introduction, which does very little to activate students' existing schemas. It begins with 4 multiplication facts, which the teacher asks, there's no written or visual slides to complement this lesson, what strategies the students are using to get those answers. So after getting those suggestions from the students, it never actually revisits or looks at those strategies in any depth. Now, just stating the word or writing it up in a thought bubble on the board is not activating our existing schemas or our prior knowledge. Students actually need to activate a whole range of skills that they've previously been taught. So the introduction will need to connect with things like repeated addition, with arrays, skip counting, multiplication facts, as well as place value and actually partitioning those. And this all also underpins an understanding of area. So in activation, we want the phonological loop primed and students' visuospatial sketchpads churning over so that they're recalling that prior knowledge through some quick revision activities or some recovery tasks. Some think, pair, share, some whole group tasks, low risk answers where the teacher's calling out answers and questions. But this lesson offers nothing to actually do that. It covers just 4 single digit multiplication facts and then seeks the students to give an explanation. It's seeking students to give reasoning on one specific schema, that being multiplication facts. And it ignores all those other schemas and prior knowledge that they have. So in doing so, it is not particularly useful. And we are moving into a concept that's looking at 2-digit multiplication. So it's actually disconnected. Overall, the introduction with our retrieval quiz of 4 questions is just far too narrow. Without meaningfully doing a diagnostic check, the teacher cannot identify what students can do independently, what they can do with support, and then where they sit in that zone of proximal development. The concept section of the lesson places substantial demand on students' working memory. There is a lot occurring here. So students must attend to the teacher's explanation, they must interpret a visual model, which is completely new to them, partition a 2-digit number, retrieve multiplication facts, and add the partial products. So Badley's model explains that the phonological loop processes verbal information while visuospatial sketchpad processes the diagram. The central executive must coordinate these limited systems, and the episodic buffer binds this information with relevant knowledge retrieved from long-term memory. However, this lesson provides only one vague, modelled example to do this. This is insufficient. It assumes students are expert learners who have highly automated, organised schemas already activated from the introduction phase with strong interconnections and familiarity between those prior learnt skills and have an underpinning knowledge of this new content, which is just incorrect. Further, the lesson does not explicitly model how to combine those partial products once you have the 2 answers. And this, to me, is an opportunity to revisit a vertical algorithm, and it's a bit of a misstep, in my opinion. For novices, these admitted steps place an extraneous load on students to understand a procedure which is half-cooked. The independent practice worksheet compounds this problem even further. It's crowded, it has competing visual features, and it offers limited space to work out the actual problem. So this adds unnecessary extraneous cognitive load, distracting the working memory from processing that new information. The lesson uses the same worksheet for every student. So novices receive insufficient scaffolding, while students who already understand the area model are getting nowhere as well. They're only limited to what is on that worksheet. it seemingly penalises the capable students with extra workload and pairing with lower students. And that doesn't work to help their growth mindset. It actually gives them a glass ceiling. This comes back to having good differentiation in place and opportunities for students to feel that progressive struggle. This lesson provides limited support for new knowledge to transfer into the long-term memory. There is no clear sequence of worked examples, guided practice, spaced retrieval, or circling back to the worksheet to review it or to understand error patterns or see if the students have incomplete schemas that they're working off. Overall, the lesson introduces a complex representation as a standalone procedure, and there's no indication of where the learning is going next. This is a single lesson. It's not pitched as a multiple series of lessons. It needs more explicit, sequenced, and differentiated design to help novices build those schemas and allow for the more expert learners to apply and extend the understanding.